trying to think, does it work with your name? You're Nico, really. Nico. We should call you Nico because that's quite Greek. Nico.
Yes. What?
No, you're Nika. You're Nika. It doesn't really work with your name. I'm so sorry.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business in Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm in the Radisson Blue in Cardiff. That's how I am.
I know. It's exciting. It's a little bit like Eurovision Song Contest. Come in Cardiff.
Come in Cardiff. I know.
And next week is, unless I'm much mistaken, it's going to be Come in Brisbane, isn't it?
I know. This next 4 weeks are absolutely mental.
And then Come in Chipping Sodbury and Come in Paris or something.
That's absolutely correct, yes. Yeah. That is my schedule for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. From the sort of sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't go anywhere for months on end. I cram it all in a month. It's mental.
So how was the journey back?
It was okay, yeah. I got a nice lift from the lovely Steve. He dropped me at Kalamata Airport, which is always great fun because it's so tiny and you see people you know. In my case, I saw my next door neighbour dropping off their sister-in-law, and then Elias turned up because he was picking up the next door neighbours he was dropping a car off for someone, then he was picking up the next door neighbours, and they were all going to go buying bathroom fitments for my next door neighbour's house. So it was all very jolly at the airport, and plane was nice. Oh, I ended up talking to a very interesting girl on the plane who was on the opposite peninsula with her husband, who's Greek, and she's British lawyer, and he makes web designs for big fashion websites for big fashion companies. So we had a good old chat all the way back, and then I got here and I got on a train fairly effortlessly from Gatwick to Cardiff. I had to change at Reading. Now, that was where the heavens opened and it chucked it down. And it was all very effortless, really. Came out of the station, could see the Radisson Blue, trolleyed my little suitcase along. I'm down to one suitcase and a bit of hand luggage now, Judith.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And
when I used to go to boarding school in Taunton from Paddington often, we'd go through Reading, and my abiding memory is, Reading, this is Reading, a light here for Heathrow Airport.
So you had to get off there. How'd you get to Heathrow?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Right.
That's the announcement. When you say Reading to me, immediately my brain goes, Reading, this is Reading, a light here for Heathrow Airport. It's just a knee-jerk reaction.
Let me just have a mini rant, though, for a moment.
Yeah, go.
I get to the Radisson Blue, my young man on reception, absolutely gorgeous, a really, nice, gentle upsell to breakfast. Oh, normally it's £16, but if you buy it now for the 3 days, you can have it for 11. And I thought, yeah, so that's interesting. So 16 quid for breakfast is too much, in my opinion. And I was going to go out and forage for myself, but 11 quid makes it worth staying in the hotel. So there's an interesting marketing exercise for you. And he upsold me to a bottle of water, which hasn't arrived yet, so I'll be asking about that shortly. That was nice. Would you like a bottle of water for your room? Yeah, go on then. So I was, going through the process of being sold to very gently. And I get up to my room, very, very nice indeed, very comfortable. And this morning, it's passing all my tests. I've got certain tests for hotels. And it fell at the final hurdle. The shower was great. I could actually work out how to use it. It was good and hot. The bathroom's nice and big. It's all very modern. The bed was fantastic. Oh, the duvet was a little bit too hot, but I just kept kicking it off. But it fell at the final hurdle. There's a great big mirror with a plug right next to it. And when I went to try and plug my hairdryer in, or indeed the hairdryer supplied by the hotel, it's a plug that can only have the local hotel light socket, light fittings plugged into it. They've got weird sort of round pins. And there is not one single plug near enough to the mirror to be able to dry your hair. Designed by a man.
It's a good job I lent my hairdryer to my upstairs neighbour, who is a man, in 1990-something, and never needed one since. This is not my obsession, but somebody was saying that on Facebook yesterday about, the vein of my life to dry my hair. So, done it, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's astonishing how many hotels fall at this hurdle. They must be designed by men. That's all I can think, or nobody actually goes and stays in the room. Right. So
actually, and one of my bugbears when living in modern flats in Canary Wharf was that architects aren't very good either, because lots of things were wrong with the flats about rooms facing in the wrong direction and enormous bathrooms that nobody used that was wasting really limited space. And it's amazing how you can be an expert designer of spaces but not look at it from the consumer's perspective.
Yeah. Well, I think all it needs is one person to go and stay in a room and try and dry their hair, and they'll soon realise.
Well, they must have done that. And there must be female architects who blow dry their hair.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me all hot and sweaty trying to contort myself into... Luckily, I'm a seasoned traveller now, and I have a hand mirror that I carry within my luggage. But it's tiny. It's sort of bigger than a tiny one, but it's not big. And I contorting myself to try and get into a position where I could actually see to dry my hair. I just need to see to do the fringe. The rest of it's okay. And I just got really hot and sweaty and annoyed, which isn't what you want when you're trying to get ready for a breakfast meeting, is it?
No.
Even if it's a virtual one.
Yeah.
But what about your week then?
Well, I've been on light duties towards the end of last week. I got horribly sunburned in a good way over the weekend, barbecuing, and we had really hot weather, which has then turned into this freezing cold weather. I've had to get out my winter clothes and I slept 2 nights in my cashmere socks, and I shut all the windows and turned the heat on again. But today I'm back in my summer uniform, so it's been a strange few days actually. And but I had my friend Susie came and played with me all day on Thursday, which was lovely. I've had a lovely sort of mainly off week. I had last week I had 5 days without doing my small business big magic calls, because although you don't understand this, because of the 31-day months, every now and again I get a week off, and last week was that week off. So I've been sort of offish actually.
Well, I do understand it completely, because we were all taught to do that by Thomas Leonard when we first became coaches, but follow that system. But what I didn't grasp the other day was how it worked in a practical fashion. But we don't have that conversation again.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. No.
Oh,
it was every now and again. When there's a 31-day month, I get a week off, and that was it. I've had it, and it coincided with sunburn weather and barbecuing weather, and it was lovely. And then it wasn't, and now it is again.
Well, I'm actually practicing this whole doing nothing thing. Because it was a hot week last week, and I was at the Souvlaki apartment, which was very, very nice. It was like being on my holidays. Because I open the window and look out, and I'm on the beach, like literally. And so I went and lay on sunbeds reading books in the afternoon. And it's amazing how exhausting it is doing nothing. I was quite impressed.
Oh, I always wonder on holiday how on earth we manage to cram in work at home. I agree with you.
So now I've got the client who I'm going to see tomorrow. I'm going to spend the day with tomorrow. We're going out for dinner this evening, because you probably know clients need to talk a lot first and get it all off their chest, so that they feel that you know everything you need to know before you start work. And she sent me an email today, give me the time she's going to pick me up tonight and the time she's going to pick me up tomorrow. And she's made a list of suggestions for what I can do today. And I was actually planning to do absolutely nothing.
Yes, absolutely right. Hooray! Well done, you've mastered it. One thing that was concerning me about the Souvlaki apartment was, did it smell of souvlaki?
Vaguely a little bit when you arrived back, first of all. Okay. And so you had to open the doors and the windows, but they were full-length doors, they were full-length windows. You didn't smell the souvlaki because the breeze off the sea got rid of it then. But there was one funny night where I came back. I can't remember where I was. I was out for dinner with some friends, and I came back, and it was a football match. It was Juventus versus Real Madrid. Yeah. I'm not joking. Every taverna that had a telly on was absolutely ram-jammed, and the souvlaki bar was no exception. I'm going to tell you, though, the food in that, it sounds really low rent, but it wasn't at all. It was completely freshly cooked every time. Salads freshly prepared. The pita breads, I did have a lunch there once. I had to just try it. It was absolutely awesome quality food and very good value, which is why the souvlaki bar was the most packed of all, with loads and loads of Greeks having an amazing time, men and women actually watching the football. And I got upstairs and I thought, I'm quite tired, but really it's so noisy, I'm never going to go to sleep. So I went downstairs and had in fact, they insisted on giving me a glass of rosé. They wouldn't let me pay for it. They were really nice people, and it was great fun. So
when I lived in Marylebone High Street between 94 and 98, there were a lot of pubs and bars in there. And I think we had at least one sort of international there definitely was a Rugby World Cup, and there probably was a Football World Cup in that time as well. And the bars would be packed with people, and every time there was a goal for our side, there was a big cheer would go up. I'm used to living in that, and I quite like it, funnily enough. Although I'm not bothered or interested in sports, I quite like the sounds of other people enjoying themselves.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
It was very good. So what's fueled your fire this week?
Oh, I've done a lot of excitements this week, actually. You know my lottery thing that I'm in?
Can't vaguely remember it. Go on. Explain.
It's called Lotto Spring. Yeah, it's gone a bit quiet. Well, it's been relaunched yesterday, Lotto Spring 2.0, and it's even better than it already was, so that's exciting. I'm waiting this morning to hear the results of the first draw. And where it's better is that I'll be in all those global mega lotteries every day of the week except Mondays. I'm so excited about that. But I'll let you know how it's going. I made 700 quid for free before. So the whole point about it is you play for free, which I haven't managed to get that across to everybody yet. So it's free money, but I will do when I've got some time. Now, but the most exciting things this week I've had two new strangers in my diary, which I absolutely adore. And it's only Wednesday morning. I've already done 3 people. And the 2 people yesterday, one new and one not, were both men. Yesterday I had 2 men in my diary, which used to be much more common than it is now. That was quite a novelty when I got up in the morning and I saw a David and a John. I was, oh, good heavens. And the strangers were interesting. One has given me my word of the week, which I'll tell you when I get there. But the first stranger wasn't even self-employed. She was between jobs. And I said, how do you even know me? And she said, well, I was in the 30-day challenge, which was about 3 years ago. So there's a long marketing, link as well, where you connect with somebody. Yeah. All I could see was that we had one Facebook friend in common. That's all I could discover about her and me. And she wasn't on my list. So I thought, well, how do you know me then? And she confessed to it being the 30-day challenge. And the new man yesterday, somebody you would really have liked, we had an hysterical conversation when he booked himself in on Friday by email, because he sent me 4 links to websites of businesses of his. And I went, and is it just you? And have you read my one woman, one website blog post? And then after that, the 4 links, he sent me another 4 links. He's got like sort of 8 or 10 ideas for businesses. Now, he wanted to talk about franchising or licensing one of them. So that was perfect because, I know how to do that. Yeah. But he joined my list apropos of nothing at all about 10 days ago. He's only had 2 newsletters. And when I asked him yesterday about how we knew one another, he said, well, I really like proper sensible 45-year-old high-achieving grown-up businessman. He said, I really like all the stuff you write about manifestation, gratitude, the law of attraction.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
I know. I know. And then lovely, endeared me to him straight away. And then we had a proper grown-up business conversation as well about franchising a business nationally, perhaps even internationally.
Which, of course, you've got the experience from the cleaning biz, haven't you? Yeah. Oh, that's marvellous. That's a marvellous marriage of prosaic, down-to-earth and sensible and woo-woo all in one.
Which is exactly what I am, and I'll tell you more about that in Word of the Week as well. Tell me about what's fueled your fire.
Well, okay, yes. Well, interestingly, when I started Clicks and Leads, the Facebook ads agency, a number of my friends kindly used me, as it were, and I did some stuff, as you often do, for free, i.e. not charging, but based on a results basis. And then I did some stuff that was just basically for free, just because I knew people were good connectors and would refer people to me, and so it turned out to be. Well, one of those people then went off to work with one of the biggest names on the planet in this space, in the paid media buying space, and I thought that was the end of it. And it didn't work out so well, not because of the big name he used, but because of another factor. So, he hasn't really been doing very much for the last year. Anyway, he's relaunching, and he's got a lot of very, very big joint venture partners all around the world mailing for him. And he came back to me because he says he doesn't want to miss out on the remarketing. And to give him his credit, he's not remarketing to over-cookie them. So they send the traffic and then he remarkets. And do you know about affiliate marketing, the last cookie in kind of thing?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, sometimes affiliate marketing is based on first cookie. So if you're the first person to send someone to the site, even if they're on someone else's mailing list, you get the credit for it. But more often it's last cookie in. So even if someone else has sent someone to the site and they've opted in, or they've visited but not opted in, but you send them later and then they opt in, you get the last cookie credit. So he doesn't want to overwrite anyone's cookies, which is really good. He just wants to enhance the experience for his affiliates. So all of the remarketing campaign is going to be based around sending people back to the site who didn't take action at certain points. And he wanted me to do all this for him. And I said, well, how are we going to run it then? Because you normally pay me by results and on a commission, but that involves using a link that would overwrite the cookie. And he said, oh, no. He said, just name your price, basically. So just tell me your fee and I'll pay it. And he did. And that was really nice. And what was really nice was it brought me back into this world of exciting competitions. Funny you should mention the lottery thing, because it is quite exciting, the whole competition thing.
Yeah.
And there's a leaderboard. So I have a teeny tiny mailing list. I'm not going to say how many, but it is minuscule compared with some of these people. But I'm in the top 20 on the leaderboard I did a little prep work. I'd interviewed this person a couple of times and I sent out a couple of free links to exclusive interviews I've done with them on specific topics. And then I led off on Monday with my first mail to go and watch his free videos. So I'd warmed my list up first. It wasn't exactly work, but, I'd done the work. And I'm doing really well on the leaderboard, which is really exciting. So I'm not only running the behind the scenes thing and getting paid well for it, I'm holding my own with the big boys, even though I've got a teeny tiny mailing list, which is quite exciting.
Good. Very, very
Stand to win a prize at some point.
Yeah, nice.
A word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by clicksandleads.com. Clicksandleads.com believe in affordable traffic and leads for everyone. They'll set up your Facebook ad campaign, page likes, leads or remarketing, then they'll manage it for you. They'll even split test your ads and audiences to find the best performing ones. Game-changing marketing from clicksandleads.com. So, client challenge of the week then.
Yes.
I know that one of the topics we're going to be discussing tomorrow on this client day is the fact that this client has more than one business on the go. And I thought we could discuss that because I know it's a recurring theme and I was a horrible, horrible culprit of it myself back in the day when I had my first life coach. So I thought perhaps we could discuss clients we've known with more than one business, discuss the pros and cons, and discuss how eventually you decide which business wins.
Yeah, well, that's what I did with this man yesterday afternoon.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
When you said that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about have you ever had more than one business on the go at once, and how did it work for you?
I have had multiple businesses on the go at once. I wouldn't do it again because it's wrong on so many levels. I think there are ways it can be done. I think what you've got to think about is, has the client got any staff? Oh, no, actually, let's peel it back even further. I think most self-employed people have got to get one success up and running first. And during the course of that, they may also have to do something else in order to be in financial integrity. So this man yesterday had probably, 8 or 10 brands, which were largely around making videos. And he insisted that he had to have a different brand for every type of client. So a financial client didn't want to be muddled in with a pharmaceutical client, who didn't want to be muddled in with a luxury brand, who didn't want to be muddled in with a startup, who didn't want to be muddled in, you know what I mean? So he thought he had to have multiple ways into persuading people to buy his filmmaking skills. But actually, I think what I got him to see was, and he had all of these opportunities, all of which were great, and some of them were, I could set this one up quite quickly and overnight, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And then there was his big passion licensable one that I could see. And so what I tried to persuade him to do was, which is the one that you're in love with? This big licensable one? Yes, I agree. That's the one. Let's go for that one. What are you prepared to give up in order to go for that one? And what's your monthly income target to pay your bills? It was quite high because he's got 2 young children and he lives in London. And how many of your existing films, whatever track they come in on, do you have to make in order to pay the bills on that one so you can be free for the rest of the time to focus on this startup thing? And the answer was he probably had to work about 50% of the time to make his money, which would leave him 50% free. And what he wanted to do was to go off and find an investor on a business plan so that he could fast track going straight to the one that he wanted to do. I tried to dissuade him from that. If it had been me, I wouldn't have done that. I would have spent a fortnight a month making my films and funding my other fortnight to do it myself. But you've got to. I think it's like the plate spinning thing in the old cabaret variety act. You've got to get one run up plate spinning first that pays your bills, and ideally, and then you can make it into a proper business where other people do most of it, so that you're freeing up your time at every level to bring on the next one or manage a team of people doing the work.
Yeah, when I look back to the days when I used to have my first life coaching calls with Rachel, I had various things on the go. I also had just come out of, I think I had a consultancy going, but I'd just come out of a full-time job because, anyway, the reasons were irrelevant, but it was the thing that was paying the bills. And I remember that it was because I had several things on the go because I didn't know which one was going to work.
Yeah, I always remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and looking back, the reason that I didn't know which one of them was going to work was because I wasn't giving any of them a chance to work.
No, quite. I would say the one that's going to work is the one you put your time and effort and love into. Yeah.
It's so frightening for starting entrepreneurs. They're always looking for certainty, aren't they? And they think that someone else can tell them with certainty what will work. What's the best way?
Your client today isn't a startup, is she?
Well, I don't really want to get into discussing. No, but
she's not. She's not a startup, is she?
No.
And neither was my client yesterday.
No, she's actually got 2 businesses going that are both making money and both could be absolutely huge. And one makes more money than the other. So I did want to, without discussing her, I did want to discuss this thing of people find it very hard to let go of the business that's making them the money, but they also find it very hard to allocate their time properly. You just said something quite interesting a minute ago. I'd spend a fortnight a month doing this and a fortnight a month doing that. But if you can't corral things that neatly, can you? You often have to corral it into days.
Well,
Today I'm working on that.
It depends what you do. In his case, to make a film takes 5 days.
Oh, okay. So he does have to do it in week blocks, effectively.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so why? So is he making money from any of them yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's very, and is that the one he wants to pursue, or is that one of the ones? Does he see that as bread and butter?
No. Look, I tried to get him to see the distinction between what he's doing now is exchanging time for money. So if he makes a film, he might make a profit of somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 on it. If he goes to, say, Italy to work for a posh brand, and that would of course be 3 days away from home filming it, and then 2 days in the edit suite, I tried to get him to, is the distinction here that you see the business that he wants to do, the licensable, franchisable one, not exchanging time for money, which it isn't. People will pay him a franchise fee and then the head office operation, which could be run by staff, a manager, I can see. And also a business that he can sell, whereas the other one, the filmmaking, he's making a unique personal contribution. They want him to make a film. So I'm not sure I got that point across successfully. If I had 2 businesses and one was and they were both making money and one was making more than the other, and I wasn't necessarily in love with that one, I would get it managed by somebody else or sell it.
Yeah. Because they're selling it will give you a chunk of cash to live on for a certain timeline. It'll give you a runway, won't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't give up on it if it had any value. Either to keep it and have it managed, or a junior partner who's incentivized or whatever. It doesn't matter. I would probably, if it was making money, I would keep it. If I was in love with it and get some money out of it somehow, to free me up to work on the other one, if that's what you're inferring.
Yeah, and the other thing he said nobody's going to invest in a business purely to pay the salary of the person who owns the business. So they want to invest in businesses for marketing, for product development, for all sorts of reasons, but they'll never invest just to pay your salary. And free you up to do something else.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
But the other danger.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. I haven't got a very good line. I don't think it's a good thing. I think you chase two rabbits to catch neither. I always say it's like running up all the lanes in the 50-meter race. It can't be done by one person. You've got to pick one.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if you've got more than one thing on the go, I used to find, the minute you hit an obstacle or a problem or a challenge, you would, instead of focusing 100% on getting over and around that challenge, obstacle, whatever it is, you would go off and do something on one of the other businesses. And sometimes that's a good thing because it gives your brain time to percolate and come up with creative solutions. But most of the time, it just took you away from solving the problem.
I don't think it is possible that you can have two businesses on the go if one of them is effectively in the space of paying your bills.
Yeah, because in that way, it's just like having a day job, isn't it?
A part-time job. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So interestingly, something sprung into my mind. When I was driving back from Stupa to Kalamata with Steve, we were talking about him and property, because we talk quite a lot about property investing. He's got a property in England that he sold to buy the place in Greece, and then he swiftly met his partner, and she's got a property in Greece, and the properties they've both got in Greece are not suitable for them both to live in together. So they spend most of the time in one of them, but they really want to sell the other one. And actually, ideally, they'd like to sell both and get something more suitable. But I said to him, he said, well, it would make a brilliant holiday home. So I said, well, why aren't you renting it out then, rather than just letting it sit empty? He said, oh, I can't be doing with all of that. And I thought that was quite telling, that he thought just dealing with one tenant at a time, long-term tenant at a time, was quite hard work. So there'll be people listening to this when you talk about getting someone in to manage the bread and butter business that's bringing you money in, they'll be thinking, oh, I can't be doing with all that. And lots of people find it quite hard to manage people, don't they?
I think managing people is hard, and I don't think it's a job that any creative person wants to do. It drains just drains your soul. But, there are people down the left-hand side, the mechanics, lords accumulators, who are perfect at doing that and at managing other people doing that. So there are people out there. I mean, in terms of renting out a holiday let in Stupa, Elias and Stella will do that for him, won't they?
It's so funny how you know everyone. Of course, yes. That's it exactly, isn't it? You've got to find someone who's good at the bits you're not good at.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. And also, if necessary, so when I'm talking about get somebody to manage it for you, get somebody to manage the people that are doing it for you. So it might be a two-pronged thing, not a one-pronged thing.
Yeah, that's exactly when we talk about outsourcing. I talk about finding a good, intelligent, organised general VA who will then recruit and train and manage all the other specialists. If you're the person who doesn't want to manage all the team of outsourcers, the first person you bring in is someone who will manage the outsourcers.
And I also think that we think that everybody in the world is like us, and they're not. So when I sold my businesses in 97, the accountancy business and the travel agent, they're bought by a man and a woman, respectively, who still run them to this day. They've taken them on as a going concern and grown them. They've done something I would never have had the patience or the energy to do. They are managers. They're people who take something and make it better. They're just manager types, and they're just different from me. They're not worse or better. They're just different.
Yeah, that's right, because all of us entrepreneurs assume that everyone else is just like us.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are very happy being, starting opening up their computer, having a list of tasks to complete during the day and feeling enormous satisfaction from having completed most of them at the end of the day. And that's as much as they want.
The new client that I spoke to, who is between jobs, not even self-employed, she said what she really liked was being good at something.
Oh, that's important for lots of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
They like to feel a sense of achievement and accomplishment. Quite.
And you can get that in all sorts of ways. It doesn't have to be through your work.
Yeah, well, that's another good point, isn't it? You don't have to get everything from your business or your work. You can get other needs met elsewhere, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
So,
and so you're technically running multiple businesses now, aren't you?
What? No, I don't think so. How dare you?
Well, you're running multiple. Yeah, I think you are.
No, I'm not actually. I think I look like I am, but I'm actually just running one business, which is me and my internet marketing knowledge and media buying knowledge. And I think it's got different. I've still got Clicks and Leads website because it suits me to let people think that I have a Facebook ads agency, even though I've got a very tiny few clients in there that I don't, love what I do and don't give me any trouble and pay me regularly. But really, all of my efforts and energies are directed towards Cairncross.com, which is at the top level consultancy at the moment, and at the bottom level, the $79 a month membership site, which is where I give consultancy advice to people who can't afford to hire me for the day.
Yeah.
It's all come under one umbrella now.
So are you going to try and encourage your client to pick one of the two?
I don't know yet is the answer, because she's in I've got to hear a lot more about the two businesses.
Yeah.
They are sort of slightly related, but and funnily enough, they're very similar to, I met someone in Stupor through a friend the other day who's in radio. I told you about. I'm talking to her this afternoon as well, and very similar situation and business prospects to the lady I'm seeing tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. I think it's more about. Okay, so let's talk about this then. So you've got a second business or a job. Well, jobs are a bit more clear-cut because you have to turn up there and do stuff in them. Whereas a business that's paying your bread and butter but isn't the thing you're in love with, are you likely to turn up and do what's needed, or do you think you're likely to subtly self-sabotage that job because you don't really want to be doing it?
I'm going to dodge the question like a politician and say that I'm thinking of a particular client who had that dilemma in the last year. She had two businesses, and one was sort of where she started and was becoming the old business, and one was the newer, more passion-oriented, where I want to be working kind of a thing. And I think I encouraged her to move away from the old and towards the new. And actually overnight she's let me know that she'd sold the website of the old. So, there's value in old. We don't have to give it away or stop doing it, or, there's value in anything you've created. That's
a really, really good point, because a lot of people just take the websites down and close the business, don't they?
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart.
There's value.
Yeah.
Now, I agree. If you've started something of value, there's something to sell.
Yes, it's like when I was running multiple businesses, I had a business called Artist Manager, and it was bringing in about 700 to 1,000 a month, which wasn't enough to live on, but was a nice little addition.
Yeah.
And it was very because it was a match-up, it was a match-up software. It's like a database-driven software that I'd worked really hard to find a developer to do, and then I worked really hard to find a second set of developers to take it over, and it was a fantastic domain name, one-word domain name, that really got traffic all on its own. And I really, really wish that I hadn't let all the issues with the second set of developers stop me, make me get to the point where I just closed it all down because I was so cheesed off with it all. I really do wish that I'd kept it going, and I could have sold that then as a going concern.
I think you're right. And my brother once came round, and I was telling him that I'm falling out of love with the cleaning business. I just wanted to give it to my partner, and he said, "How does it make? And how much money does it make?" And I told him, "Oh, I would never give away something like that. Any cash-producing asset, he would find a way to keep or continue to make money out of."
Mm. But when
even once, he doesn't understand what we do. He manages assets. He's not he is creative, but in a different way. He's not a creator like you and I are. I don't know what profile this would be. He'd be a star supporter, I think. But once we fall out of love with something we've given birth to, it's hard to fall back in love with it, isn't it?
And also, there is an emotional cost of being involved with something that you don't love anymore.
Yeah, there is.
It sucks your energy and life out of you, doesn't it?
It does. It drains you. Yeah, I used to think I can't go to that meeting again because it's so repetitive. It's so repetitive, and I've been so many times. Yeah, if it destroys your soul, I think actually a client would know that if it's soul destroying, they would let it go. But I think that the opportunity is with your client today and tomorrow and mine yesterday. he was in love with all of them in a greater or lesser extent. And I think that is a threat to success in any one of them.
Yeah, because you don't give it the single-minded focus any real business deserves. So how do you choose then? If you've got a number of opportunities, a number of ideas, a number of things that are even perhaps making money on a low level across the board, how do you choose which one to go for?
Well, I'd want to know what they were all contributing to the monthly pot, just out of curiosity, really, and how much time that took. So, for instance, if something took not very much time but made a lot of money, and another one took quite a lot of time but didn't make very much money, you've got some clues there, haven't you? Ooh. I know with my clients and me, the combination of me and my clients, it would come down to, and which one do you love? And they sigh and tell you which one it is, and that's the one. They know, everybody knows, they know.
James Schramko calls that your effective hourly rate, I think, where he gets you to work out how much money each thing is bringing in and how many hours you spend on it. And when you actually do those sums, you find out that the thing you love most is the thing that's paying you, £4 an hour or whatever. The thing you love least is the thing that's paying you £50 an hour, and you don't have to do much for it.
Yeah. So find a way that second one underwrites your love and passion and the amount of time you want to put into the other one.
Well, that's another really good point, because it doesn't mean that just because you're passionate about something you have to make a business out of it or earn a living out of it.
No, or that it won't if you actually have some time to put into it.
Yeah, that's true. The sea glass jewellery man and driftwood art will always come to mind now when I think about passion projects.
Well, and the second client I spoke to yesterday afternoon, the second man who lives in Italy and is coming back to the UK, I noticed him, I've been trying to persuade him for all the time I've been working with him that there are easier ways to make a living than the hard sweating way that he's doing it. And he's got it now. He's only 50 and I'm, which is younger than both you and me. And I was aware that that he still was ambitious, but he's come round to my perspective now. They're coming back to England because the tax rates are easier and he doesn't have to work so hard. But he said in the end, I just want to make a living doing something I love.
Yeah.
And that's actually, and that's why we're self-employed. That's what it comes down to in the end.
Yes. I think the thing that's come out of this very strongly for me, this conversation, is that if something's making money, don't throw it away.
Yes.
Find someone to manage it for you.
Yes.
And
if you can't sell it.
Yeah, or sell it. Don't just shut it down because it's draining the life out of you. Try and find a way to stop it draining the life out of you and still putting money in your pot. Yeah,
tell them it's an asset. Okay.
Yes, because people don't realise that anything that makes money is an asset, especially if it makes money largely. Yeah. And, I remember the first time I actually made a big chunk of cash out of an idea that I and someone else had together. And then we did it for a year. And then I remember that she decided she wanted to go bigger and better and I wanted to carry on doing what we were doing. And she just gave me a big chunk of cash to buy me out of my half.
Right.
It was astonishing.
Yeah.
It never happened to me before, out of an idea.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes. Good. All right. So I think we've done that one. Is there anything else we need to say about running more than one business, except we don't think it's a great idea unless it's your bread and butter?
Try not to do it.
Try not to do it unless it's your bread and butter. If it's your bread and butter,
you can do what Margaret Collins recommended, which is serial focus. So park them, the rest of them, come back and do them later. Once you've got your plate spinning on your first one, come back and do the second one and the third one and the fourth one.
Yeah, and I think any entrepreneur who's spreading themselves too thin, you just try this single focus. It makes such a difference to your stress levels.
Well, you can't ride two bikes at once, can you?
No, you can't. Yeah. Oh, good. All right. So, we'll revisit this after we've had further conversations with those clients with more than one business.
Indeed.
What's your word of the week then?
No, you give me yours first.
All right. My word is perspective, because we were at Right Club last week and we were sitting at this amazing location, and every time we looked up we could see this most unbelievable view, and we were trying to work out what makes Stupa so special, and we think it's something about that you're constantly looking at long views, You see mountains, you see sea. There's hardly any building. Any building is only 2 stories high, so there's nothing blocking your view. So everywhere you go, and we were saying, some people were saying about how they go out for walks to get their creative juices flowing when they're a bit stuck. And I was saying that I'd read some research that said that walking is really good for creativity because your body's doing something automatic, and we know the ideas come when your body's doing something automatic. But B, unless you're walking somewhere very rough ground, you tend to look up at the view, don't you? You tend to look at the horizon. Yeah, and that's been proved in experiments to really help raise your. Is it serotonin that makes you feel good? Yeah, the long view increases serotonin production in your brain, which also increases creativity and well-being. So perspective is my word.
Okay, and mine is mojo. And I've never really understood what that word mojo meant. And the lady that booked herself in from Monday said, I've lost my mojo. And I've always thought it was connected with, what's that other word? Motivation. But actually, I looked it up. I think the general consensus is that it's about personal power. But actually, I like it so much better than I've looked it up now. Hang on, let me see if I can make your screen go smaller because I actually had the definition. Oh, it's a magic charm, influence, especially magic power. And so what I like about this, of course, is, one of my groups is called Magic. And I love magic, the whole thing. I also like mojo because it's got both of my initials in it. And that funny thing where J-Lo is called J-Lo and I'm called J-Mo, and I think J-Mo is quite close to mojo, and so I'm excited by the word mojo.
It's an anagram. It's an anagram of mojo.
It is. Yes, it is. Yeah, J-Mo. Now, and I was trying to think, does it work with your name? You're Nico, really. Nico. We should call you Nico because that's quite Greek. Nico.
Yes. What?
No, you're Nika. You're Nika. It doesn't really work with your name. I'm so sorry.
Let me tell you a funny thing about Greece. Okay. There's always lots of funny things about Greece. This is another one. Every male Greek has to have a name that ends in S. But when you're talking about them, you call them their name with an S on the end, like Elias or Nikos or Stavros or Nikolaos or whatever. But when you're talking to them, you lose the S. Now, 25 years I've been going to Greece, and I've never known this before. So I've been calling all of these people Elias, Stavros, whatever. When you talk to them, it's Stavro and Ilya. So you lose the S if you're talking to them. That's very difficult to remember.
Yes, and quite hard to say Elias without an S on the end.
Ilya.
Yeah, it's a different word. It's a
different name.
Yes,
entirely.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Whereas Stavros works because you can still say Stavro. But Elias, if you've got to change the E to Ilya, that's bananas. Anyway, nuts. No. Anyway, so Nika is your equivalent, by the way, of J-Mo and J-Lo and Mojo.
I'm completely flummoxed now.
My nephew is also called J-Mo, and I had to say to him, I'm called J-Mo too. It's like he only thought of his own initials. Anyway, there we go.
Well, he is J-Mo too because you're J-Mo 1.
Yeah, he's J-Mo 2, that's right. I'm J-Mo 1 and he's J-Mo 2.
It's like I'm Fluffy 1, Heather's Fluffy 2, and Sarah's Fluffy 3.
Oh, my word. Now, do you want to tell us anything about the podcast, or should we skip straight on?
No change, but I did check. It's still very steady. We had a very good download week last week. We had 100 downloads on each of 3 consecutive days, which is a lot for the first week of a podcast episode. So
that's nice.
They liked marketing for writers, Judith, whoever they are.
And
my lovely listeners.
I saw the Gary Vee post about audio and podcasts, and he's in it for the long game. So we've got to stick in, Nicola.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talked about the passive listening thing, didn't we? It's like, what can you do when you can't view a video? And it's funny because I actually took my iPhone down to breakfast today to watch a video because you can eat and watch a video. And it was like having my own little telly in the dining room, which was quite good as the jazz was absolutely appalling. But yeah, steady project update, steady as you go, still 77. Here we go.
I think the thing is that podcasts, like everything you and I have ever done, we're still years ahead of the beat with podcasting.
Yeah, it's true.
Years ahead of it. In 2020 or 2025, when everybody goes, "Oh, I love podcasts," it's like, yeah, we were into it in the end of 2013.
And what we mustn't do is stop just as it's about to explode.
No, I know. So anyway, there we go. All right. Yeah. So now tell me who or what's impressed you. I've got 2 this week, one serious and one frivolous.
Oh, good. Well, I'll go. Why don't you tell us one of them and then I'll tell you mine and then you can finish.
All right. Do you want my serious one or my frivolous one first?
Oh, I think your serious one first.
Dr. Malcolm Tunnicliffe, the medic at King's College Hospital, who I shared the film from yesterday. They had 14 casualties after the London Bridge attack on Sunday night. And he has this lovely, lovely, lovely manner. And he says the first thing that we say to people when they arrive is, you're safe. We are going to look after you. You're going to be fine. And when I saw him, I just... and also he said that the staff in London hospitals, probably Manchester hospitals, UK hospitals, are not drinking in their leisure time at the moment so as to be fit to be called in during emergencies.
Oh, my God.
What angels are these people?
Yeah, they're even thinking about their jobs on their time off.
Oh, and you've read these stories where I think he was one of them, and there was another doctor who was cycling home and he heard the news. He turned around and cycled back to work because he knew he was going to be needed. They're just wonderful people working in appalling circumstances who are called to heal the sick.
Yeah. Yes, it's astonishing. It must be a very thankless task a lot of the time because... Well,
at times I think they're working in terribly difficult circumstances. But you imagine you've had that terrifying experience of being attacked by a knife, and the first thing you see is this nice, calm man with this open, broad face who says, you're safe, we're going to look after you, you're going to be fine. I thought, that's just what you want. He's just cracked it.
Oh, maybe blood then.
Well, and me. I could blub about this completely. Yeah.
Oh, mine is, you mentioned Gary Vee earlier. Planet of the Apps has arrived. Apple Music have started making TV programs, and one of the first ones they're making is Planet of the Apps. I watched the first episode this morning at breakfast. Gary Vaynerchuk dominates. He comes across really, really well. And they took 2 people through the whole process of pitching to the mentors, and then the mentors working with them in 6 weeks, and then them pitching to big VC companies. And Gary's pair who'd invented an app to keep people safe on their journeys. So basically, the free version of the app is that you can say to people, "I'm going from here to here. I'm leaving work. I'm going home, and it's dark, and I'm a bit worried. Would you monitor me on my journey?" And so anything that goes wrong on that journey, the phone is programmed to make a loud alarm if you don't arrive at your journey safely. And also your friends and family can watch you. They can actually watch you on Google Maps, moving between your destinations. So really cool app. And they started it on college.
Aren't they watching your phone, though? They're watching your phone. If you've been stabbed and the burglar's taken your phone, they're just watching your phone, aren't they?
Well, no, there's fail-safes built in so that, if in the event that any of those things happen, the phone somehow knows and alerts people. And the paid version is that professionals watch your journey. So you actually pay, there's like a sort of call centre of people who watch your journey, which I think is astonishing. Anyway, it got the investment, it got $1 million seed round investment. And the programme is very glamorous, it's very fast-moving, it's very interestingly filmed. I highly recommend it. It's free. First episode's free to watch on Apple Music. If you go to the Gary Vaynerchuk page on Facebook, you'll see it, obviously. And the release of this program comes in a week where he's also on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. Now, I know we're not very keen on Entrepreneur magazine around here because of various things that have happened in the past, but it's a big week for Gary Vee. He's going mainstream. So that's impressed me. And what's your final thing?
My final one is the winner of Britain's Got Talent. Did you see him?
Well, annoyingly, I saw who the winner was, before I'd actually watched the final. So I don't feel
So did I, Nicola, because I had a friend here who didn't go home early enough, and so I couldn't watch the final. So I saw the last 3, and Marion always points out that actually they always put on last the person they want to win in the semi-finals and in the final, and indeed he did win. But I was impressed that the Great British Public didn't vote for a dog this year, which was quite refreshing. I thought he was a lovely man. I thought the fact that he was a classical pianist was a refreshing change. Usually what happens on those programmes is that the judges and the audience, if there's a hint of classical music about what they do, nobody in the audience or the judges has the capacity to judge them, so they just put through crap. But this man was not crap. This man was a talented pianist. He'd won a scholarship to go to the Royal College of Music.
Which tells you in itself how good he is.
He was cool. he was talented. He's already toured with many of the greats in the sort of music that you like, that I don't understand, as
electronic music.
As either a support artist or the warm-up act. So he came across as an utterly charming, modest man. But what I've learned about him since, I don't know if you remember this story, but in 1995, the headmaster of a London school in Mavis Vale was murdered at school. His name was Philip Lawrence. Well, the winner, Tokyo Myers, was not only at that school, but saw his headmaster murdered.
Oh, God.
So what an interesting life and man and person. And, well, for a change, a worthy person won a talent competition.
Who is actually going to have his life completely changed,
Well, I mean, 250,000 isn't a huge amount of money, but I think the exposure you get on that program.
Oh, totally, yeah. It's all about the exposure, I think.
Yeah, it is really.
And the record deal that follows, which invariably goes to south, but gets you started.
It does. And his parents came on, and they were utterly charming as well. It was all like nice-mannered, lovely, modest, grateful people, you know.
Good. Well, perhaps I'll watch the final bit, the bits of the final on YouTube then, and catch up with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So it was a good week this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't run out of anything to say there at all, did we?
I'm not sure that we've ever run out of things to say, have we?
No. Definitely not. Right, so next week I'll be coming to you from the Gold Coast of Australia.
And we'll be doing it at 9 o'clock my time, which I think is, what time is it, about 5 or 6 o'clock your time?
Very civilised, I think, that time difference, don't you?
Yeah, yes, not bad. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, then speak to you then.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.